driving home, so you get to be in my car. So today, it's right now it's kind of cloudy. So I was listening to Affirmations for Abundance. It's an ebook that I had downloaded. It was really great, about 45 minutes long. And it motivated me that for this ride home to actually put down on video, and eventually it's going to be put down on paper, these thoughts. So, where am I going to start? Universe, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to talk about? Do you want me to talk about my life? Do you want me to talk about my fitness? What is it? What do you want me to talk about? We're going to start talking about, I'm going to start with, let's just say my life. The making of Donnell. So when I was born, I was completely rejected. I didn't get that instant love and acceptance and desire to be here from my parents. My father didn't, I was a girl. My mother didn't because, get this, I was perfect. So that, through my therapy, through lots of RTT therapy on myself, I've come to that understanding that being healthy and looking, I was a beautiful baby. I had long hair all the way down to my shoulders, cherub cheeks. Nothing was wrong with me. I was this beautiful, perfect baby. But my mom was told that I wasn't when she was pregnant with me. My brother was very sick when he was born, and that's what they expected when my mom was pregnant with me. Several reasons. They thought there was more than one child in there, and multiple births. The children are usually sicker, and so when they laid me on my mom's stomach, when she came to, she says, "Beautiful baby, but it's not mine." So that imprinted in my little mind, in my soul, that imprinted on me that I didn't belong to her, which she's correct. I don't. I belong to God. Came through my mother. I came through my father. I needed them to be here. Needed my father's sperm, my mother's egg. I needed my mother to carry me to term for me to exist. But I'm not hers. And having that understanding, because when you attach yourself so much to your parents, and so their thoughts and their beliefs and how they treated you and what they've said to you impacts your life so deeply. And it's not, let's say it's not really not healthy for us to live in that existence. we have to understand that the way that our parents talked to us and raised us and the things that they did, they were coming from their own understanding, their own knowledge of what was right and wrong. And they were taught that by their parents. And most of us had parents that were just pretty messed up. You know, let's just say my mother, once she accepted me, not that, so let me give you a little insight. So when she finally said, okay, this is going to be my child, she said, look, I'm going to take this child, but nobody's going to take her away from me. Once I take her with me, once she's mine, and no one will take her away from me. Because she really didn't think I didn't look like her. I had dark olive skin. I had dark hair that was all the way down to my shoulders. She's blonde, fair complected. You know, I didn't look like I belonged to her. I really didn't. That changed when I was about, I think she said about 16, 18 months old, around that time. I'm not for sure. That all of a sudden my hair went from dark to blonde, like cotton white blonde. So, and it's like God's like, oh, there you go. But it was interesting to go from that extreme, those two different looking children. So much so that her cousin, Bobby, who was like her best friend, thought she had a different child. She was like, where's Donnell? You know, because Donnell, for her, looked like her because, you know, Bobby had darker hair and a darker complexion. And so she was real fond of me, and now I had blonde hair and real light complexion. And she's like, hey, where's that little girl that I love so much that looks like me? And here I am, blonde hair. So again, I wasn't what somebody had expected. I wasn't what somebody thought I should be. And you would think, oh, that's nothing. But it made an imprint on me. It's crazy. It's amazing what I've discovered by doing my RTT sessions. When you go into hypnosis, your subconscious mind reveals the why. The why do I think this way? Why do I behave this way? You know, why do I act this way or expect people to treat me in a certain way? It's because it's imprinted. It's imprinted there. And most of your imprints that just really get laid down start from the last trimester and to about 5 years old. There's scientists at different ages, but you're working straight in the flat out record brain, and that's all the baby's doing. The baby is just recording everything around them, all the emotions that they can sense, especially when the baby is inside the mother. So they have all these emotions that they're sensing. They can hear. Hearing is like the highest sensation. You know, one of the senses that a baby has is hearing. So in the womb, the baby hears. When the baby is born, the baby hears. So when people are talking negative and talking trash around newborns, little 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, they are absorbing that in. Stop, really stop, okay? They're little recorders. And what you are putting down in their little minds will affect them their whole life. You've chosen to have these children. You have choose to lay down the soundtrack for them that's going to give them the best life they could possibly have. I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't. For my children, here's one thing that's so awesome that I absolutely love. When I was young, my last beauty pageant when I was 15, and I'm standing there and they ask me the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? So at the time, I had just, like 6 months earlier, I just finished with a big modeling show that I had choreographed. I was a choreographer, dance choreographer for a modeling agency, and I loved it. It was great. I loved it. I loved doing that type of work. And so a lot of individuals would have thought that that's what I would have said I want to do when I grow up. But that's not it. There was a major event that happened in my life that changed that. And I'll talk about that a little later, but I'm going to talk about the beauty pageant right now. Because I was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this 15-year-old girl goes, a wife and a mother. A wife and a mother. Yes, right now, 2021, I am 52 years old. So it has been a little time since I was 15. But it wasn't like back in the day where that's all the women were wife and mothers. I could have gone any direction. But that moment in time, my heart's desire was to have a husband that I could love, that would love me, that we could build a future together, and that we could have children and love them. So I got married at the age of 16. Another story I'll tell later. But I didn't have my first child until I was 19. Oh, but she was planned for all those years. Her nursery was already painted and designed, and I wanted my child so much. When I was pregnant with her, I was happy. I loved being pregnant with her. I loved talking to her. I loved feeling all the little moods and all her hiccups. So the words that were spoken to my oldest were always that of positive. And I'm very thankful that I didn't find out about her father's affair that he started. He said he started when I was like 8 months pregnant. I don't really care when it started or whatever, because it wasn't relevant to me at that time. My time was just loving being pregnant and loving my baby. But whenever I found out about him having an affair, because he continued with that affair, I found out at the circus. It just makes me curious if that's what made an imprint on my oldest daughter to hate clowns. Because we were at the circus, and I went and I'm not for sure if I handed her to him or if he was handing her back to me. I'm not for sure, but something happened where his shirt collar moved, and I saw a hickey on his neck, and I don't put hickeys, I don't like marks. And so I knew I didn't do that. And instantly I felt the blood drain from my body. I mean, it was just like, thought I was going to pass out. And I knew at that moment that my life, the life that I had thought that I was going to have, was not going to be with this man. I knew it. One thing I didn't learn to do in kindergarten was to share. I don't share. I'm not good to sharing my husbands at all, any way, shape, or form. It's just my soul connects, and I want to be the soul connection. That's it. But I didn't say anything to him. I was raised to not really make a scene. I also was in downtown Houston, and I had to get back home to Channelview, which was probably about a 45-minute to an hour drive to do that. And so I needed him to get me and our daughter home, because I didn't have a car. I was stuck. So I knew that I needed to keep my mouth shut long enough to get her safely home and put in bed before I had the discussion with him. And so even then, before I knew about the imprinting that parents can give to their child, I didn't want her to be around me yelling. I didn't want her to be around me being so sad and upset. I didn't want her to feel that, to hear that, to experience that. So I just waited until we got home and she was in bed. And even during that time, when I feel like this, I was not one to go around and tell my daughter how horrible her father was, because what she needed to know about her father was that he loved her. That's it. That was, I knew without a shadow of doubt that that man loved his daughter. And that was the only thing that I cared about. I didn't really care about what he thought of me or how he treated me, because I knew I was not going to be in his life anymore. And so when we got divorced and the years after, I didn't have the desire to talk trash about him. I would talk truthfully. You know, if he's saying something that just wasn't right or not true, I would say that I would talk truthfully. But it was not trash talk. It wasn't, you know, your stupid, low-down, cheating father. No, he was doing what he needed to do at that time. That was his journey. I have no ill will towards him whatsoever. He has his life, I have mine. And I hope nothing but the best. And the reason why is because I know that we're all just on this journey, finding our path. He was my starter. He gave me a beautiful daughter that I love so much. So there was never a mistake. Being with him was never a mistake. I learned so much from that relationship. And I'm thankful for that relationship, especially, the most importantly, because I have my daughter from it. You know, so the love that I had was continually shown and spoken over her. The problem that I had was, and what I put upon her, was she was my life. She was my why. She was my reason for doing things. Sorry, there's an ambulance. So I love every part of my life and what it's given me. I don't have ill will towards my natural birth father who didn't want me. And I know this because he told me, when he kidnapped me. He kidnapped me the year that Elvis died. And the reason I really know that is because I locked myself in the bathroom when Elvis died, and it was the only bathroom in the house. So, a lot of people banging on the door. But when he kidnapped me, so give you a little backstory. When my mom got divorced from my father, he never paid child support. But then all of a sudden, he wanted to see me and my brother. We lived in Louisiana, and he lived in Arizona. And again, I don't remember how I got to Arizona. I have no clue. Whether we drove, rode on a bus, plane, I have no memory of that whatsoever. And, but we get there, and we start off, when we get there, in an apartment. And then we go from the apartment to a house with a wife and other kids. And then I get told that I'm never going to see my mother again. And then I have to call her and tell her that I hate her. Or he would put me on the street. He would kick me out. So this little child calls her mom, says these things that weren't true, weren't real, and luckily she knew they weren't true and real. For my brother, they were true and real, because my brother was everything to my father and to his family. I was nothing. So that was made very clear. I was taken for punishment, to punish my mother. I wasn't taken because I was loved and wanted. So that had a major imprint on me. When my mom, luckily, praise the Lord, she still had friends on the Arizona Police Department who was able to track down where he lived so that she could get her children back. So I knew, at that early age, how much my mother loved me, that she would travel through whatever she had to do and jump through whatever hoop she needed to get her children, to take care of them. So even though this, I call him a sperm donor, because that's really all he was for me. He was just the sperm donor. And when I graduated from high school, I graduated in the top of my class. Again, a little backstory. I got kicked out of school when I was 15 because I wasn't living with my mom. And the only way that I could go back to school was to either get married or live with my parents. And my mom went back with my stepdad, who blamed me for their problems, and I believed him. And I wanted my mom to be happy. I wanted her to be in love. I wanted her to have a happy life. And so if I was not in the picture in her marriage, then she could have the happy marriage. That was not right, Of course, it's not the truth, but that's what, a 15-year-old thinks. And so I chose to get married. And I got to graduate from school. And the teachers, oh man, you want to talk about hard. When they find out you're married, or at least back in the day when I would They were like, oh, you're one of those married students. First of all, those married students don't have to be there. It wasn't required back then for me to have to go to school, you know. I chose to go to school. I wanted to go to school. I fought to go to school. I got married to go to school. And I had to prove to my teachers, to myself, that I wanted to be there. And I was a straight A student. I enjoy, let's just say, it's not that I enjoyed all the knowledge, because I didn't. I just could study for a test. I liked making A's. Graduated in the top of my class. Didn't try. It wasn't that I was, oh, this is my goal to graduate in the top of my class. I just set the bar for myself to make 100. If I'm doing any assignments, I'm expecting myself to put the best effort out to make 100%. Why the hell wouldn't I do that? Why the hell wouldn't you do that? If you're doing anything, give it your all. Give 100%, whether you like it or not. If you can't give 100%, don't do it. Because you're going to be doing it anyway. But why half-ass it? Just do it. Do it 100%. Because when you do that, it helps you see what you're capable of. I had advanced classes. Not because I was thinking I was going to college and needed these advanced classes. I took the advanced classes because the other ones bored me. You know, I was so bored in regular classes, you know. But so I graduated the top of my class, top 10%. And I invited my birth father. And he came. I was surprised. I was happy. I was elated. I thought that great, I can start building a relationship with this man. Starting over, brand new. That's what I had hoped. That's what I thought. But it didn't happen. I was 18. It didn't happen. 19, I get pregnant with my daughter, and I call him, let him know. I was so excited. Don't really get any response from him. Then I have her. Again, no response. So that really gave me a good, clear picture that this is somebody who really doesn't need to be in my daughter's life. He wasn't in mine. He was only in mine for, the only positive was my birth, was, you know, giving me life. But my actual birth was not a positive one for him. The only positive time that I have remember in any way with him was for my graduation. That's it. And so I don't need him. And I didn't need him in my daughter's life. I gave him that opportunity. I opened the door to the universe for him to be allowed to be a part of my world. But the universe didn't want that, and I accept that. I don't hold grudges. I'm not all bitter of he was so wrong, he missed out, or no. That's just how it's meant to be. There's so much greater things to focus on than what wasn't. It is. There wasn't a moment that I looked at my little girl and go, oh, well, I wish that your grandfather was here to look at you. No, I was looking at her. I was looking at those little toes and kissing them and looking at the little fingers and just loving every part of her existence. I also learned some very valuable things when I worked at a daycare. So when I was in school, I worked half day at a daycare. And they taught me certain words that we should not use while we were in there. We don't call children kids because they're not baby goats. Okay, I can accept that. We don't say shut up. We say inside voices. We speak quietly. We talk and, we whisper to them if they're yelling. Because whispering, when you have a child who's yelling and screaming and you match that energy, it's going to continue with the yelling and screaming. But if you have a yelling and screaming child or even adult and you whisper, then they will bring down their yelling and screaming. And a lot of times, especially with children, and children under 5, it works amazing. Because again, remember, like I was saying, they're just recorders. So if you are a yeller and screamer, your child is going to be a yeller and screamer. Because that's what they've recorded. And so when they are expressing themselves vocally, outwardly, sharing how they feel, it's not that they're doing anything wrong. That's natural. What happens to us as adults is we actually, we no longer feel that we can express our wants and desires, our needs. We feel that what we want is not available to us, so we've got to keep it quiet. But what we have to understand is that it is available to us, but we don't have to yell and scream and throw a fit like a little newborn baby. Sorry, man, there was a truck that was crossing over my lane. That was not fun. But yeah, sorry, my frame of mind just kind of went when that truck was right there, so I'm just kind of gathering myself for a moment. And that's the great thing about videos, I can cut. When you have children under the age of 5, and they're throwing fits, I was taught when I worked, 3.5 years at this daycare, to whisper, not yell and scream. If you got a child who's being a little obnoxious, a little loud, trying to exert their way, you whisper. And their volume comes down. And so I really enjoyed learning those things. Was I a perfect parent? Hell no. I wish I was, but guess what? Nobody is perfect except Jesus. Jesus was the only human that was perfect. So I have to give myself a break whenever I am faced with the reality that I have made mistakes as a mother. But again, I was only doing what I knew. I could only be a mother from what I was taught from my mother. I didn't really watch much TV to get influences on how the TV moms showed how to be a mom. It was from my mom. It really wasn't from my grandmothers, because my grandmothers, all of them, were not. There was no love. I mean, my mom's mom, it wasn't until I was an adult that she actually really expressed love, or I even felt love from her. Before that, it was so much condemnation and how I could never do anything right. Hold your breath. I mean, I grew up in the society of children were to be seen, children were not to be heard. Whatever the adults around you said to do, you did, no matter what. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you knew it was wrong. You did it because you were told to do it. There was, it was just, we were just children and we were there to obey. And I didn't really like that, but I didn't know anything different. So I expected my children to obey, but I had to go at it a different way. So luckily, by working at the daycares and being shown from other amazing women how to love and nurture, how to take care of. I worked in the whole daycare, meaning that when I first started, I was an aide, and I would go and be an aide in all the different classes. So everywhere from brand new, babies who I think were like 12 weeks old. We took them, I'm not sure, 8 to 12 weeks. And then my class that I eventually had was the oldest ones. That's the last year that they were going to be in a daycare setting. And that's when they get the most mouthiest. And I had some students that were interesting, let's just say. I had one, and she fit her name. Her name was Stormy. And Stormy had a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. Her mother worked and had to go out of town a lot. Her father worked and had to go out of town a lot. And I was part of the team that would go and pick up the children from the schools. And I could kind of tell what kind of day I was going to have just by the bus ride. The minute the students would get in, I could see how they were going to behave, and I kind of knew how they were going to behave in class. And I remember calling my mom one time, and I made a comment. I'm like, this child just needs a good spanking. And because, again, that's what I grew up with. I would get spanked even if I didn't do anything wrong. It was crazy. My brother got in trouble. Guess what? I got spanked too. I probably did something in that day that I needed it, according to my stepdad. But that's what I thought, So that was my thinking of, here's this child being so rude, disrespectful. She needs to be spanked. And my mom goes, one of the best lessons I've ever learned in my life. Thanks, Mom. I really appreciate this lesson because it's made a big impact on me. She says, no. She needs a hug. I'm like, what? This person's being belligerent and mean and rude, and you want me to hug them? So that's what I did. I get to the class, and she's really not in a good place. And the teacher's in there, and I asked Stormy to step outside the room, and I was gonna just talk to her, and I just wanted to find out what was going on, what made her feel this way. And she just broke down crying. And I didn't know at the time, but I learned through my RTT training that hurt people hurt. And the way that hurt people hurt is usually through anger. When you have somebody who's being mean and angry and bullying, it's usually because they're hurting inside. And so by me taking that moment to listen to this young girl express her feelings, and I was able to just be there, just give her that comfort for just that moment, but at the same time let her know that it was not acceptable to treat others the way that she was treating them. You know, she was being mean to other children, and it was not acceptable. I was not going to allow that to happen. But I was going to allow her to have her feelings, to know that she could talk to me anytime that she wanted to, and that we were going to, when she was having one of these moods, give her some space. And that's what we did. If she needed her space so she could calm down, the class knew, hey, we're just going to go ahead and give her space right now. And that made a big difference. It wasn't until her brother got in the classroom and then they just fed off each other that it didn't really work anymore. But after that, our relationship was great. I was an interesting aide. The teacher in the class, she was just the teacher. She was doing the bare minimum, you know, just observing the kids, making sure the kids did their schoolwork when they needed to, make sure they had the snack, make sure that everyone was following the little pattern. But for me, I was bored. I was so bored being in there. I needed to do something, and so I made a schedule. You know, I don't really remember what we did on Mondays, but I know that I had a day that we exercised. I had a day that we did arts and crafts. I had a day that we cooked. When it was Christmas time, I put together a Christmas program with us singing Christmas carols. You know, I engaged the children, and what it was is when it was time to go out to play, you know, they would come in and they would have their snacks and they would do their homework. And then we would have that time where they could go out and play for about an hour. And that hour, the children that wanted to go out and play could play. Those that wanted to stay with me and do whatever we were doing that day would. And do you know that every single one of the children that were troublemakers was in my class, would join me? Because they were bored. The kids that people labeled troublemakers, they're bored. They need entertainment. They need something to do. They need to be engaged. When they were with me for that hour alone away from those other children and we were doing the tasks that we were doing, I didn't have any issues with them. We had a great time. We created some of the most amazing works of art with the art that we did. We loved having fun together because that's what we did. But what that experience showed me was the different types of children and how they express themselves. Stormy's best friend, Jacqueline, and I really do wish that I knew these individuals' names. I would love to look them up. I would love to see the adults that they grew up to be. But Jacqueline, she was just so sweet, so quiet, you know, and such a helper. And that it's funny how those two connected, because they were so polar opposites, but they kind of balanced each other out. And that helped me see that. That helped me see that you have balance. You have this balance of who someone can be. Because when Stormy was with Jacqueline, Stormy was calmer. Jacqueline wasn't more hyper, didn't act up, because she was around Stormy. And that takes me back to, you know, with Jesus. You know, Jesus didn't hang out with all the religious individuals, those that were, quote, like him, you know, and being holy. Jesus hung around those individuals who were open to receive his love. See, Stormy needed to be around that love, that acceptance that Jacqueline gave her. The universe knew that. God knew that. That's why they created it that way. And I hope that they stayed friends somehow. I don't know. Remember I said that, you know, my husband had an affair? I moved, and so I didn't have a car, so I couldn't get myself to that work, and I moved away from the area, and so I had to stop working there. So I don't know what happened to them. But I learned a lot from working at daycare. I learned a lot about how each individual age is different, and what to expect, what not to do, you know. I also learned that you could talk to children and not baby them. In daycare, we did not do any type of baby talk. I'm in the toddler room, I'm talking to the toddlers. I'm in the infant room, I'm talking to the infants. I'm not baby talking, you know, because remember, they're recorders, they're recording everything. So I learned that very early. So when I had my own children, I labeled the parts like they are, you know. You have your private parts: penis, vagina. It's not a taboo bad word. Those are the areas that nobody else gets to touch. You let them know early. Those are your private parts. You teach them. Not only do you teach them how to clean themselves early, you know, their private parts, but everything else. You teach them how to clean their ears, behind their ears, how to wash their body, because they can learn. So many of us just do it for them because we think that they don't. But if we show them and we are patient with them, they will learn, and they're able to do it, and it's something they can carry for the rest of their life. Potty training time for my kids, I meet individuals who say they have a hard time with potty training, or, you know, it was easy because it was just an opportunity for me to sit and read a story to them. If they're sitting trying to have a bowel movement, I'm not going to try and hurry up. Are you going to the bathroom? Did you finish? How come you're not going? That's just pressure. I mean, I wouldn't do well with that pressure. So instead, we had these amazing books. I had this Mother Goose Nursery Rhymes for Christians, and I highly recommend everyone try and find that book. I don't know if it's still in print or what, but it was great. It was taking all the nursery rhymes and turning them into Christian, from a Christian base, you know. And that's what I would read. We would learn Spanish, the days of the week, the months, the seasons in Spanish, while we're sitting there looking at the colorful pictures. I started that when they were tiny babies, changing their diapers. Why? Again, you got people who are changing babies' diapers, and the baby's wiggling all over the place, and the parents getting mad at them. You know, they're bored. They could care less. They don't care what you're doing. They just know they want to get up and do what they want, and they're not beaten down yet to, you know, mind and behave. Where if you explain to them what we're doing, and then you entertain them while you're doing it, you're not going to have a problem. We would have a mobile above the changing table. And when they would lay down, before we would even start changing them, we would engage them and show them the things, get them entertained, get their mind on something before we started stripping them down. Come on, think about. I want you to think about this for a moment. Imagine you're all nice and warm and cozy, and all of a sudden someone just lays you down, lifts your legs up in the air, and starts ripping your clothes off, and it's now cold. What? I'm now freezing, and you're wiping my butt with something that's cold, unless you're like me, we had warmers. And you don't, and you're wondering why I'm wiggling and worming, you're trying to get away. And now, every time I lay down, you put me down in this position, I know what's about to happen, because remember, we imprinted it, because it's that shock factor. I'm not going to like it. Where if you're getting ready to change and you make it a wonderful thing, let's go change your diaper. You ready? Oh yes, we're going to go change. And there's special things that's just there for when they change the diapers that they love. And you're reading and singing, or there's that special song that you sing to them while you're changing the diaper. You see the difference in the experience that you're giving to your child just by the way that you're changing. Now imagine you go and change the child's diaper. Oh my God, look at what you've done. This is horrible. This is disgusting. You're disgusting. What the? Really? Why in the world would we ever want to say that to our children? Look, we all shit. Just get that. We all shit. And it all stinks. You know? Sorry. I love driving through the hill country. Just got some donkeys walking through the field over here. But, so yes, it is disgusting. But they're not. Even if they reached their hand down and grabbed it, they're not disgusting. Because to them, when they're little like that, they're perfect. Every part of them are perfect. They love every roll in their body. They don't think that they got fat legs or chubby cheeks, or that they don't even think that they shouldn't even mess with their poop. Their poop is great. It's part of them. You know? They're going to grab whatever because they don't know that it's wrong. Because it's not wrong. It's them. They're perfect the way they are. We're the ones with the wrong thinking when we look at ourselves and tell ourselves how horrible we look and how we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Remember, be perfectly imperfect. You know, you were perfect when you were created. Your creation, your soul is perfect. Every part of you is perfect. Now, your beliefs, the way you think about yourself, is not perfect. It used to be. Society has conditioned you. You have been trained, you have been brought out, you have been programmed to have these thoughts for self-esteem, for self-worth, that have come from your parents, your family, your teachers, society. Nowadays, wow, I don't really know if having access to so many different individuals is a good thing or a bad thing. Being able to be on the internet, watching different individuals, getting influence from them, I don't know how that's going to affect the society in a whole down the line. But I do know that it has helped me as an adult find individuals who could teach me more than what I was trained in my life. And I guess that's where I really think that that's what college is about. Because I know way too many people who go to college, spend so much money, get all these degrees, and they don't even really do anything with what they went to college for. They just happen upon a job, and some of the skills that they learned in college help, where if they just took that class, maybe they would have gotten the same job. Who knows? I'm not beating up people who went to college. I personally did not go. It wasn't even a thought in my head to go to college, because that was a lot of money. I didn't have money. I was never taught, shown how to get scholarships. Now, remember, what did I say I graduated? I graduated in the top of my class. And I had colleges who reached out saying that I could go. But remember what I said about being a wife and a mother, and I got married at 16? Well, my husband, when I was 16, was very controlling. I couldn't have friends. I remember one time we went to the grocery store, and this kid from school was working in the produce section, and he said hi to me. And I got chewed out by my husband at the time for that guy talking to me. How did I know him? Why is he talking to me? This guy was in my home ec class. It was just a hi. It wasn't anything. I don't know him. I know him from class. But that was what I was in. That was my life. And so that's what I accepted. I accepted that was my life. There was no college. There wouldn't be in that situation. And I had chosen to be married, and I had chosen to have my daughter more than I had chosen to go to school. But I think that's where college comes in, because if you think of all the different classes that you have to take, and all the different individuals that teach those classes teach in a different manner. They all have their own teaching styles. And so that could possibly be helpful. I don't know. I'd just rather take a life class or, read a good book to help me. That's what I did as an adult. That's what I did. When I turned 40, I started reading more mindset books. At the age of 50, wow, my life completely changed when I really set forth and changed my mindset, changed how I chose to think. And once I changed that, there's no looking back. Something else that happens, and this is one of the sad parts of when you change your mindset. When you change your mindset, I'm real big into energy vibrations. I believe God is an energy source, and that we all came from this energy source. And that energy source, when you are in alignment with it, that's when you have that peace. That's when you're in that love. That's when you have that compassion, that motivation to move towards something. When you're vibrating in the lower vibrations, when you're angry, bitter, resentful, that's pulling you away from source energy, taking you away from it. It's very dark. It's very sad, lonely place. And when you start vibrating at a different level than those that you are normally surrounded by, two things will happen. You either choose to go back to your old ways of thinking so that you can hang out with those same individuals, or you're going to have to separate from those individuals, as hard as it is, because you're not vibrating on the same energy level, the same wavelength. And I have several individuals that I love dearly. I love them. Wish no harm at all for them. But we were vibrating at a different level. And I couldn't help them change their vibration. And my vibration was making them uncomfortable, was not benefiting them, and it was not benefiting me to be around them. So for now, we have chosen to go on different paths. Does that mean if these individuals showed back up in my life that I would be angry or upset in any way with what happened in that? No. I believe that if source energy wants me to be around those individuals, God's going to put it into practice. God's going to make it happen. I don't have to do anything. I just vibrate at my loving vibration. I vibrate at this vibration. I love it. It's amazing. Because whatever's going on in life, when you are vibrating at a higher vibration, one of love and acceptance, one of peace, things like COVID, or this past, we just got finished with the Texas winter storm it's going down in history of 2021. And all of this stuff that so many individuals, they're like so defeated, and they're so negative, and they're so, what a horrible world this is. And I've been nothing but blessed. And even when things go wrong, I'll give you an example. Our boat, my husband wanted to go out on the boat, and he finds out that the freeze plug popped out. And, the block could have been busted in the boat. That's irrelevant. It's just a task that has to be taken care of. It's not personal. When something goes wrong in the world around you, why the hell are you taking it so personal? It's just something that needs to be taken care of. When there's a problem, Don't make it your problem. It's the problem that you're taking care of, if you need to. It's just that simple. It really is. I'll give you just a little example of what I'm talking about. When craziness is going on around you, do you become that crazy? Or are you the calm in the storm? You think back, at least for me, I like to think back on what would Jesus do? When the storm was happening and everybody else on that boat was freaking out. And they wake Jesus. He's snoozing. And he's like, really? Okay. But it's that. Be the calm in the storm and just take care of the situation. Help others to feel that calmness. Don't add to the storm. When somebody comes to me and they start with all the bitching and complaining about what's going on in their life, I'll listen for a few minutes. I really will. I give them time. I give them some space. You know, I truly do care about what's going on with them. But when they start repeating the same story over and over and over, I stop them. I let them know that they're repeating themselves, and I ask a question. What do you want? And they, a lot of times, whether or not I continue with the conversation with them, or I get off the phone, or I leave where I'm at with them, boils down to if they're going to repeat how wrong they were and how justified they are in the way that they're acting. Because the reality of the situation is nothing's happening to them right that moment. They're talking with me. I'm not being mean to them. I'm not hurting them. The event or person that hurt them in the past is not in the room with us. And so at that moment, they're not needing to continue with that anger and frustration and just going on and on and on. So I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to allow my energy to be sucked out, because that's what will happen. And that's what happened with the friendships. You know, I would go around and there's just nothing but negative. Everything would be negative. All these problems in people's lives that they brought on themselves, that they created. But it's easier to blame somebody else for what they created and be upset with somebody else instead of taking ownership for what was their part. See, that's all you can do. When there's a situation in your life that you don't like, you have to say, what is my part? Because you're either contributing or you're allowing. Figure that out. That's the only way the situation's going to change for you. You cannot change anybody else. Someone has a behavior that you don't like, and it affects your mental, physical being. You, of course, let them know, hey, this situation here, it's not something that I'm cool with, and I'm going to choose to not be around this situation. Now, this individual has the information on what you say you are going to do. You didn't tell them you've got to change and I need you to change right now. No, you said this type of behavior is a type of behavior that I personally am choosing not to expose myself to. I am choosing to not be around individuals who think and act this way. And now it's up to them to choose to change those behaviors when they're around you. If they don't, now, here's the key. Here's where the problem comes in, and we do it as parents too. We say something, we lay down this edict of what's going to happen if this happens. And guess what? Just like a child, just like a little 3-year-old, they're going to push your buttons. They're going to see, I've been getting away with it all this time. She's really not going to not be my friend anymore if I continue with this behavior. She's really not going to get up and leave the room if I continue talking politics and being a negative and angry person. Guess what I do? Because guess what? I am more valuable to me than you are to me. That right there took me years, 50 of them to get. 50 years. Actually, almost. Wow. Yeah, realistically, it wasn't really until I did my RTT that I have 100% stood up for me. Me. I am important. What my needs, my wants, my desires. I get to choose the life I want to live. It's amazing. I get to choose that. Now that I'm choosing my life, I'm consciously making those choices. What does that mean? I consciously go to myself when I wake up in the morning, and this is where individuals call it meditating, I call it praying. But I wake up in the morning and I immediately start thanking God. I start off with my gratitudes. I start off with praising Him and thanking Him for everything that He's done in my life, for waking up, for breathing. And then I ask Him, what does He want for my day? What do you want, Lord, is what I say. What do you want? Is there somebody I need to talk to today? Is there something I need to do? And here's the hard part. Be quiet. See, meditation is really about no thought. No thought. Having no thought in your mind so that you can receive from the universe what the universe wants to give you. So for me, my universe is God. So when I'm meditating, when I'm praying, I need to quiet my mind so that I can listen to what God has for me, instead of me telling God my plans for my life. I did that most of my life, but hi God, this is what I'm doing today. And then want Him to bless it. Yeah, He's like, sure, I had something bigger and better for you, but if that's what you are choosing, okay. I mean, think about it. The individuals that wake up and say, I'm going to do absolutely nothing today. I'm going to get wasted on drugs. I'm going to be just mean and negative, have no goals in my world, I'm just going to be a miserable person. Do you think that's what God had planned for them that day? No. But do you think God said, sure, that's what you asked for. You can have it. So, look, I can tell you right now, God's plans are so much better than my plans. They are. They really are. And so I listen. And then, let's just say, because it's not an audible voice. I mean, come on, I'm really not hearing an audible voice telling me, Donnell, go and do this. What I'm hearing, what I sense, what I feel is very clear. I can see the picture in my head when he tells me what I need, what to do. But there's a lot of times where there's nothing, and those are the times that I really believe that I'm on that vibration level where I'm supposed to be. And I love to say, God, I would like to do this today. And then I just sit on that. So at my morning prayers, I'm not even out of bed yet. This is how I'm waking up. And it's usually about anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long of this time period. Because for some reason I wake up about 4 o'clock, 4:30. Yeah, it's about 4:30 when I wake up. But I'm still in bed. I'm not up meditating. I haven't gotten there yet. But the individuals that I've met that get up and do that are very successful, and I'm moving a little more towards that. But I'm in bed, and it's several hours, and I probably fall back to sleep. But anytime that I'm back awake, it's back into that prayer. It's back into that talking to God, thanking Him for my day, thanking Him for everything that He's doing, asking for guidance, letting Him know what my plans are, and sitting and finding the peace in that. If I feel anxious about it, and it's not something I want to do, I wake up. And we're going to end here because I just made it home. Thank you for riding with me from San Antonio. Every morning, do this. Wake up. Wake up and talk to the universe, your higher source, God. Thank Him. Thank the universe for everything that you have. And I don't care if you think that you don't have anything. If you just woke up, you have life. You have breath. If you have a roof over your head, be thankful for that. A bed to sleep in, be thankful. Be grateful. It's from that point that you can start manifesting more in your life. Because until you're grateful for what you have already, why the hell should you get anything else? Why would the universe give something to an ungrateful child? Think about this, because there's a lot of individuals who aren't grateful who have a lot of things. I've met many of them who would have makes tons of money and have so much stuff, and they weren't grateful for it. They would just trash it. Oh yeah, I can get rid of that. I have stuff. My husband and I have been together 22 years. I still have things 22 years that I still use, still in good condition to use because I take care of it. I'm grateful for it. I don't take it for granted. My minivan that I love, when she has an issue and someone goes, oh, it's time to get rid of her, time to sell her, I don't want to. I talk nice to her. My windows, after the freeze, my windows stopped working. I couldn't use my mirrors, and my electrical system wasn't right. And my husband made a comment that it's time to trade her in. And I'm like, no, I love her. Do I love being in a minivan? It's not that. She's just everything that I need. The windows are big. I can see. I don't have blind spots. Plenty of room. Comfortable drive. Great on gas. I'm grateful for my minivan that's carried me around. She's 2011. I mean, a long time. 10 years she's carried me around. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to my car. I'm grateful to my house. So when you wake up, be grateful for what you have, the clothes that you have. I don't care if they're designer. I'm not wearing a single designer thing. I don't care if I wear a designer thing. It doesn't make me feel any different than if I don't. I go according to how something feels and how it looks. That's it. Not whose name is on it. Be grateful for the things you have. You got food. I'm sorry, if all you have is bread and peanut butter, you still have food. Be grateful for that. Because when you're grateful, then it keeps rolling. The universe starts handing it to you. When you're grateful, thankful for little, you get much. Because I know that how many of you have children who have everything? All the Xboxes and PlayStations and phones and anything that they, quote, want. Tell you how they want this and they need this new outfit and all this stuff. And they're not grateful for it. Are you eager and happy and you just really want to go out and get it for them? I mean, most of us do because of, I don't know, whatever obligation we're thinking that we have to our children that they deserve to have these things. But the reality of the situation is they don't. It's not that they deserve to have these things. You're choosing to get these things for your children. You are choosing to buy that for them. And so when they're ungrateful and you buy them something else and you're mad because they're not grateful for it, it's on you. It's not on them. You haven't taught them that they need to be grateful because you just give in to their whim. Well, God's not that way. He's not. You're going to manifest what you go and get. That's just the law, the universal law. But when you start being grateful for what you have and thankful and putting in the work that God gives you, blessings fall upon you. I have everything that I need. Everything that I need flows to me. I don't have to do anything other than receive it. I open up my arms, I open up my mind, I open my heart, and I say, thank you, God, for giving me everything I need. And on that note, I want to say thank you for joining me on my ride from San Antonio back to Lago Vista. See you next week. Bye.